tweeting and chatting what they had for lunch, to their friends who tweet back what they had for lunch, as if these were really important things that we should be using this incredible technology that took millennia to develop, and this is what we use it for. So, not eating a lot. In one of the Arabic traditions, they asked Socrates how he surpassed the people of his time. He said, the only difference between me and all those other people is that they live to eat and I eat to live. Food it's fuel. Muslims and all cultures traditionally have ornamented it and done things to take it out of its bestial qualities, to remove that bestial aspect of eating, because animals eat also. So they did things in order to enhance the human aspect and the fellowship of eating and breaking bread together. So those are important. But in the end, the food is, like Imam Ibn Atta'illah says, the one who's concerned with what goes in his stomach is his primary concern. His value is the same as what comes out of his stomach. He said you go to the marketplace and you'll spend several minutes feeling fruits and melons to send it to the toilet. And he said, and then you go into your prayer and it's like a little chicken pecking away and you're sending that to your Lord. He said, what's your priority? I mean, the proof, if you want to see the proof of our nafs, everybody gets up in Ramadan before Fajr. They don't do it the rest of the year, but in Ramadan they do. Why? Because they're going to get food. If they don't, they miss their food. And this is all to let us know what's ruling us. So that's what he's saying. If you want to move on this path, diminish your intake. Food shouldn't be a major priority. Sahar al-Tusturi was asked about people that eat once a day. And he said, Akalul Anbiya. And then they said, what about people that eat twice a day? He said, Akal al-Salihin. It's righteous people eat like that. And then he said, what about a man who eats 3 times a day? And he said, build for him a trough. Mi'laf. Just build a trough. And now they have what's called grazing. Humans graze. Like 5 meals a day. They tell you should eat 5 little meals a day. Because, it's better for you. So, and then he says, وَذِكْرَ أَدِمْ, be consistent in your dhikr. And then he says, Surah Qadr and Wanasan al-Tizm, that these 2 surahs, and this comes from, if you want salama min afat al-lisan, then they say do a lot of the recitation of Inna anzalnahu fi laylat al-qadr, and then Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. Ibn Zukri mentions that, one of the great scholars of Morocco. And because it will free you from waswasa. And one of the things about too much speaking is that your mind the monkey mind is active. To use that is borrowed from another tradition, but the monkey mind is the mind that's constantly generating what are called awarid, these meaningless thoughts. Not important. I mean, if you have thoughts like Dr. Winter, then you write them down as contentions, and they're worth writing down. But for most people, the thoughts are it's better you just let them go. Just let them pass. So, dhikr is, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ ذِكْرًا كَثِيرًا. Do much dhikr. كَانَ يَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ في كل أحيانه صلى الله عليه وسلم. Aisha said he remembered Allah in all of his different occasions. So when he woke up in the morning, he remembered Allah. It was the first thing he did. Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyani ba'dama amatani wa ilayhi nushur. And then he would recite Inna fi kharq as-samawati wal-ard ikhtilaf al-layl wal-nahar. He would recite those verses to the end of the surah. And then when he got up, he had a dhikr. When he always put his pants on sitting down. That was his practice, to put his pants on sitting down. He never put them on standing up. So that's a sunnah, and that requires a type of attention, to be aware. So the Prophet ﷺ was a completely wakeful human being. He was in a completely wakeful state, fatin. And because he was completely awake, everything he did was with intention. And most people, they want to stay asleep, because it's very easy just to go to sleep. It's really easy just to fall asleep. That's how the pod gets you, right? That's how they get you, fall asleep. Because you had to go to sleep in order for the pod to suck in the invasion of the body snatchers. That's how they get you, fall asleep. So, but people just, it's easy to go to sleep and do that. But dhikr is, dhakara in Arabic, the root of it is to be kicked in the groin. Right? That's the root meaning of the word. It's like, it's being present. Right? Because if you want to get somebody present quick, just kick them in the groin, they'll be present. Won't be thinking about yesterday or what they're going to do tomorrow. They'll be right there with you. So dhikr is to remember your Lord, to be present with your Lord. And that's very difficult, to be present. It's difficult. It takes a lot of energy to be present with people. Most people aren't present. When you talk to them, they're not. They're somewhere else. And you can see it in their eyes when they're talking to you. That's the most people. And when you go to these places where there's, the glitterati are walking around, when people are having conversations with you, they're literally like this. They're looking around to see if there's somebody more interesting to go have a conversation with. So they're not, it's so rude, but it's amazing. So if you go to any of these Hollywood events or any of that, that's where the people are. They're not with you. They're never with you. They're with somebody else. They're off somewhere else. Because it's a gift to be present with people, just to be with the person that you're with, not to want to be with somebody else. And the Prophet ﷺ was always with the person he was talking to. He was never somewhere else. And in fact, even though the Prophet is completely immersed in the divine presence, the hadith says that if you say salam, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah returns my ruh to me so that I can return your salam. In other words, he becomes completely present with you. So he takes your salam and returns it back to you. And somebody said, if you have 1 million people giving salam to the Prophet, how could that be happening? They said the sun is shining on everybody and we all get the rays. It's the same sun. Why should the Prophet ﷺ not be able to give everybody salam? You can now, on the computer, just click and send salam to everybody on your list. And what the Prophet ﷺ does, a computer is more vast. Seriously, it's amazing how people think. Ma qadrullah haqqa qadrihi. They've limited their Lord. They've limited their understanding. So dhikr that's the foundation of our tradition. And the Prophet ﷺ came with a dhikr al-hakim, which is the wise reminder, which is the Quran. And the best dhikr, أَفْضَلُ مَا قُلْتُ أَنَا وَالنَّبِيُّونَ مِنْ قَبْلِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. The best dhikr that I said and the prophets before me was لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Many of the later scholars said that the best adhkar to do in this time, and they've said this for many hundreds of years now, is istighfar, salah ala nabi, and la ilaha illallah. These are the foundational dhikrs of our time. Astaghfirullah, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. There are many different ways to say that. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وسلم. Many different ways to do that. And then La ilaha illallah. And then recitation of Quran, the adhkar of the sabah and masa. To be consistent with these things is very important. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِخَيْرِ عَمَالِكُمْ وَأَزْكَاهَا عِنْدَ مَلِيكِكُمْ وَأَرْفَعِهَا فِي دَرَجَاتِكُم. Can I tell you the best of your actions, the purest of your actions with your sovereign, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the thing that will raise you, the highest thing in all the degrees and ranks that you have. وَخَيْرًا لَكُمْ, and better for you than acquiring gold, spending out gold, infaq al-dhahabi wal-waraq, giving gold and silver, and better for you than jihad itself, like better than أن تضربوا أعناق عدوكم ويضربوا أعناقكم, better than you striking their necks and them striking your necks in jihad. They said, Bala ya Rasulullah. He said, Dhikrullah. Dhikrullah. It's a hadith sahih. And the ulama say, people say, how could that be better than jihad? The Prophet ﷺ said that jihad is dirwatu sanamihi. It's the pinnacle of my religion, is defending the religion. The ulama say that dhikr is an end in and of itself. Jihad is a means, and a means is never over an end. So the jihad is a means to protect and preserve dhikr. That's the purpose of jihad. Now, in a situation when the Muslims are under attack or threatened, then it becomes jihad is the best dhikr that you can do at that time. So that's not negating, it's not saying one or the other, and then jihad with dhikr, being present with dhikr, is better than jihad without dhikr. And people can be in battlefield situations and not be remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So most people are in those states. So next one.
والذكر أفضل من التصدق فلامز الموسر إذ لم ينفق أتى بسيئين كل منهما أسوأ مما خله به رمى عصى وفاته جزيل الأجر وليس يدري أنه لا يدري. Know that remembrance of Allah is actually more virtuous than giving charity, and thus someone who faults a wealthy man because he does not spend out has in fact committed two wrongs, each being worse than the very thing of which he is accusing his friend. The first is that he has disobeyed his Lord and that he was backbiting. And the second is that he has allowed an opportunity for a great reward to pass him by, and he is not even aware of being ignorant.
So what he's saying there is that dhikr is even better than charity. And because all the social works of Islam, which are very important and should be done, dhikr is why you were created. You were created to remember your Lord. You weren't created to build bridges or to heal the sick or to do all the things that we do as human beings. That's not why you were created. Those are things that يترتب على خلقك. It comes from your creation. But ما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون ما أريد منهم من رزق. Allah He's not asking us for our provision. That's not why we were created. So even though part of what we're here doing is plowing the fields, building the hospitals, taking care of the orphans, we're supposed to do all those things. The reason we were created was to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of those things can be a means by which we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But to do them, to simply do them, that's not why we're here. And so that's basically what he's saying. You have to know that dhikr is why you were created, to remember your Lord. And those three dhikrs will not harm you. Other dhikrs can be dangerous, so you have to be careful. There's people that will start doing divine names. Divine names are very powerful, and you have to really, you can't just start saying over and over again a divine name and not stopping, because you can have psychotic breaks. People can really be harmed by that if it's not done with somebody who knows what they're doing. In those situations. So you have over-the-counter dhikr, and then you have prescription dhikr, and you have to know the difference. And but those dhikrs, the adhkar al-sabah wal-masa, the astaghfirullah, la ilaha illallah, salah ala nabi, these are all over-the-counter dhikrs that any Muslim can do, and they will not, they'll help them and benefit them. They won't harm them. So then he says, that to fault some rich person, and we do this all the time. Muslims talk about, all these rich people that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. What he's saying is you're getting two sinful deeds. The first is, you're accusing your brother of something. If he's paying his zakat, then it's none of your business what he does with his discretionary wealth. And even if he's not paying his zakat, it's none of your business, because that's, a state can impose that. But other than that, it's not, if you're a scholar, you can remind them or tell them. But other than that, it's just leave people alone. So he's saying that you're disobeying your Lord, because you could have got a reward in doing dhikr of Allah instead, and just not saying anything, not backbiting. So you don't even know that you don't know. So he's saying that that's a real problem. Next one.
فصل ومن محرمات ومن
one thing, this is very important, because I want to, Imam al-Ghazali, and this is from the Ihya, he said that, because the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith, من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه, from the good Islam or the beautiful Islam of an individual is to leave what does not concern him. تركه ما لا يعنيه. So what does that mean, to leave what doesn't concern us? Imam al-Ghazali defines it as ومن جملة ما لا يعني, from some of the things that are of no concern. حكاية الأسفار, just talking about travels and things like this. The stories of journeys, travel logs and things like that. أحوال أطعمة البلاد, talking about different foods from different places. وعاداتهم, and the different cultures and things that go on. وأحوال الناس وأحوال الصناعات والتجارات, and talking about the conditions of people also, and talking about different commercial practices and things that are of no concern. You're just talking about them just to chew the fat, as they say. And then he says, وَهُوَ مِنْ جُمْلَةِ مَا تَرَى النَّاسِ يَخُوضُونَ فِيهِ, and this is what you see most people talking about. In other words, it's basically just conversations that people are having. It's fudul. He's saying it's a waste of time. The majority of what people are talking about is just a waste of time. And what these people, you see, the thing about these people is that they understood that you have limited amount of time. And that's what they were vigilant about. What do we do with our time while we're here? Because we're here. We're all here, right? You're here. I'm here. We're here. And we're here for a short time. Before we know it, we go the way that all humans go, right? وَكُلُّ الَّذِي فَوْقَ التُّرَابِ تُرَابُ. Everything walking on turab ends up turab. That's the human condition. And so, what did they do with their time? What did they do with their time? Because people do different things with their time. So that's their concern, was time management. These are the real time management people. And the most important thing to them was to utilize the time that you have on earth to purify your soul. Tazkiyah. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. He has had success, the one who purifies the soul, and he is destroyed, the one who stunts his growth, the growth of the soul. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ مَا